The turf was the vet turf. I don't know if people know this. Every team that played against us filed a grievance with the union before every game because of the turf.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Truly hope each and every one of you had an outstanding holiday weekend. I'm sure for some of you, it's still going and an extended one. We've got Mike Golic Sr. on the show today. I talked to Junior on the show a couple times. I think I've had Senior on before, but it's been a long time. I want to kind of go down memory lane with him, talk about back in his day a little bit. I love stuff like that. I was actually a big fan of his, got his autograph, the whole deal. Remember to rate and review the show. Love those of you who do anything in terms of spreading the word via social media, taking advantage of any of our sponsors. Just make sure if you do anything like that, right? Take advantage of our code or share on social. Forward to me so I see it. Ross at RossTucker.com. It's Mike Golic Sr. Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Well, I know he's been on the show before. I can't remember the last time. Some of these questions might be similar, but I think, Mike, you are aware. I'm talking, of course, about Mike Golic Sr. When you played for the Eagles, that was my absolute heyday as a fan, right? So, like, I would like to go, like, we could do a contest to see who could name more guys on the 1990 Eagles.
Oh,
like,
you could.
So,
and that was my team.
So, okay, off the top of my head, Clyde Simmons and Reggie White were the two ends.
Mm-hmm.
We had an inside rotation of Mike Pitts, Jerome Brown, and yourself.
Right.
Those were the three D tackles.
Right.
Linebackers were Byron Evans, Seth Joyner, and I always get the last one. I always get confused. I don't know when William Thomas came in.
Yeah,
I don't remember what year he got there. I don't remember who was before him either. There was somebody else before William Thomas. The corners.
Well, we did. Well, Todd Bell played. Your buddy brought Todd Bell and Al Harris.
Okay.
When he was there, that was more in the late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the corners were Eric Allen and Ben Smith.
Ben Smith.
Okay. But then at times, I remember Izell Jenkins
right.
would be out there. My dad was not a big Izell Jenkins fan. And I'd be like, hey, Dad, even I could see back then they were blitzing everybody. He was one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the safeties, Wes Hopkins and Andre Waters.
I mean, two of the hardest hitting safeties you would ever want to come across.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, man, it's actually sad, Mike, just thinking about it.
Oh.
A bunch of those guys have passed.
Andre Waters, Wes Hopkins, Mike Pitts.
Wes Hopkins did too?
Wes Hopkins, yep. Wes Hopkins, Andre Waters, Mike Pitts, Jerome Brown, and Reggie.
Okay, so I knew about Andre, Jerome, and Reggie. I didn't know about Mike and Wes. Do you know what happened there?
Mike had a heart attack.
Wow.
Wes, I can't remember. Mike was the latest. Mike was a couple of years ago. Had a heart attack, yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, just horribly sad. It actually makes me feel a little old.
Right.
But, I mean, all well before their time. Obviously, Jerome was 28.
Right.
You know, in an automobile accident in the offseason, and would have gone on to have a Hall of Fame career.
Tell me about that.
Oh, I mean, Jerome the player?
Yes.
Jerome the player. Jerome probably had the quickest get-off I've ever seen in my life. He would crowd the ball, and his get-off, he played on the other side of the line. He was literally unblockable, and he used his hands. Didn't wear no tape, no gloves.
I remember that.
Nothing.
It didn't even look like he had shoulder pads on.
No,
and never leg pads.
Never leg pads, and just had great hands, made penetration, which just wreaked havoc on the interior, on where you played Garden Center. Just, whether he was in a 1 or a 3 technique, just incredible get off, and wasn't weightlifting strong. Like Reggie White had it all. Reggie had great weightlifting strength, great speed, great quickness, and great leverage. He had everything.
Yeah.
Jerome was not a big lifter at all. But the way he played, you would think he could squat the world and bench the world. But it was all leverage. His leverage because of his quickness was ridiculous.
What do you think he weighed, Mike? Do you remember?
Probably right around 3 in the 290s.
Okay, so he wasn't like a.
Oh no, he was not a overly large guy. Like Reggie played at like 310, 315.
Playing DN.
At DN.
That is crazy.
And I watched him run a 4.640. Watched Reggie run a 4.640. Watched Reggie bench the most every year. Reggie squatted, cleaned, and benched. Those were the three basically the exercises he did. And then just kicked everybody's ass on the field. Again, with strength, leverage, quickness. He would line up over the nose in that 46. He had to make centers just because we would line up, the 2D tackles. We'd line up over the guards to eat up the guards so the center would have to be one-on-one. It was just – and until teams learn, we can run off tackle on this, and you figure everything out over time. But you had to be terrifying for centers.
You know what's interesting? They didn't do that much in 2001 to 2008 when I was playing, but they do 5-down stuff all the time now because it's nice for a D lineman, and you can speak to this, to know you have a one-on-one.
Yep.
Because otherwise, if you only have 3 D linemen or 4 D linemen, you listen to our calls, and I know that, but you're not sure that you have a one-on-one. When you hear the center say 5 down or big on big or whatever it is, man, you know you have a one-on-one, especially if the guy has a two-way go and go for a center. Good luck, dude.
That's when teams were happy I was lined up over them when they knew they had a one-on-one. They knew I could be handled. But yeah, I mean it. Watching those guys and Clyde Simmons doesn't get enough love. Clyde Simmons never said a word.
Dude.
He was quite. Yeah, he was 6'6".
Is he still coaching?
He's still coaching.
Okay.
Yes, I think he's coaching with. Tennessee State.
Okay. Eddie George, maybe?
Eddie George, that's it. That's exactly right, yes. You almost would never hear a pad hit with him because of his hand play. He would grab the tackle's hands, rip them, but normally grab their hands, and he had, back when you could land on the quarterback, he'd blindside, and he would tuck the quarterback's arm in and then pile drive him. And I think one year he popped 3 quarterback shoulders. And when it was legal.
Yeah,
you could do it. And you tried to land on a quarterback. And he was the quiet assassin. He didn't say a word on the field and just had great long arms, great hand play.
How old are you, Mike?
62.
And how many years did you play?
9.
How do you feel orthopedically?
I saved it for after the Super Bowl. About a week or so after the Super Bowl, I have to get a new shoulder.
Okay.
I'll probably get a new left knee.
Have you done any of those yet?
No. It's
you've never done
my first replacement, and I tried to hold off as long as I can. But like teammates or guys I played against who are in my age area who've gotten them say, we all waited too long.
They wish they had done it earlier.
Oh, because now the reason you don't want to do it too early because it lasts like 12, 15 years, and then if you do it too early, you have to get it again.
Got it.
But they say because you just learn to live in pain. Like I have pain in both shoulders and my knees since the mid, the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
But you just live with it. You just deal with it, and a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
Sure, you do. So, but a lot of guys when they get a new joint, they're like, "Wow, we didn't know what it was like to not have pain in that particular joint." So I'm actually looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to the rehab,
right?
But I am looking forward to not having pain. But other than that, losing the weight helped a lot.
Yeah, you look great.
That definitely helped keep the pressure off.
What do you weigh now?
Like 225.
Wow.
I finished at 300 football weight, and then 2 years after I was done playing, I was up to like 315 non-football weight. I looked like a vanilla milkshake, and I was like, me and my wife were like, we gotta. I got kids to raise. I want to walk my daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
They were young kids then, and so yeah, I just eating well, eating better. I still have my snack, my good snacks, but just move a lot, eat well, and I'm down to like 225.
Tell me about playing on the vet turf.
Oh, it was god awful. I mean, it was – now, we played, and when we played on awful turf, and we played on football combo baseball fields. Yeah. So we played on the where part of the game was on the infield dirt. You had the longer cleats, and it sucked because you'd slide on the dirt, until they came out with the sharks, the rubberized where you could do both grass and the infield. But, yeah, we played on the infield, played on grass. The turf was the vet turf. I don't know if people know this. Every team – that played against us filed a grievance with the union before every game because of the turf. And you could literally stand, not play in the game, stand on the turf the whole game, and your back would be ungodly sore after the game. I mean, you had guys that would just get Wendell Davis from the Bears. I mean, blew out both patellas just jumping and landing on the turf. It was horrid. And let alone how hard it was and how much it hurt, if you ever got a turf burn, it was with you for the entire – you'd scream in the shower, and it was with you the entire year. I mean, any one of us players would have pushed the plunger down on that when they blew the vet up. Because it was horrible. But, while we played on that garbage AstroTurf, it was the worst turf there was.
You played – almost every game was either on one of the garbage AstroTurfs or like the combo baseball. Yeah. I mean, that I was just the end of that. My rookie year, first game I dressed was at the vet, 01.
Right.
First game I was active. And then I have a picture. It's an amazing picture. I think it's 03 or 04. We're playing the Raiders. And it's stretch. I'm laying on my side. I'm going to find it for you. I'm laying on my side, Mike, and I'm doing like a quad stretch in the dirt.
In the dirt, yeah.
In the dirt. And I sit there and I think back at it now, like, I couldn't have just stretched somewhere else other than the dirt.
Yeah, just lay in the dirt.
I mean, why was I just laying in the dirt like that? Yeah, I have no idea.
Washing uniforms today isn't a real stretch. It's just sweat you have to get out of the uniform. Yeah, look at that. You lay and you just lay in it.
How great is that?
You just lay in the dirt, right? I mean, that's what you do. Like I said, washing uniforms is just really washing the sweat out of the uniform. Now, back then there was actual dirt and grass stains all over you.
What? Tell me something interesting. Like, what was it like playing in the 80s? Like, what's the biggest difference between 80s and maybe even when I played?
Well, I mean, the really, the concussion lawsuit changed a lot in the league, with the league withholding information and the union suing, and the billions of dollars in the lawsuit. That really kind of started to change the game, where the league really started emphasizing less violent hits,
right?
Less practice time. As you know, the players negotiated through the NFLPA to have the off-season program kind of lightened as well.
Yeah.
And that was all to more preserve the body. I mean, think about now, for those that don't know, teams get 14 padded practices in the regular season. 14 total. You can use them how you want, and understand it's an 18-week season.
Unbelievable.
And 14 can be in pads. When we played, especially under Buddy Ryan, we were in full pads Wednesday, full pads Thursday, and if we lost the previous Sunday, we'd be in uppers. We'd be in shoulder pads Friday, and if you're in uppers, you're hitting.
Yes.
So we'd hit Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Friday if you lost.
If we lost. The week
I didn't
before.
know that.
Oh, yeah.
If you lost.
Yeah, we'd be in uppers. So, I mean, we hit at least 2 times a week, sometimes 3. And now, and I'm not saying this as, these guys are softer today. They're not. They're smarter. Just 14 padded practices. So a lot of times they're going weeks without even putting on pads during the week, especially later in the season, which I understand. Now, tackling has taken a hit from that. The tackling is not as good.
Yeah.
But also taking out the intimidation from the safeties, hitting crossing routes, hitting guys over the middle, the rules on the quarterback, which I think they've gone too far on, but I understand quarterbacks sell the league. So that's really the biggest difference is hits they used to show on highlight reels that people like glorified now would cost you $40,000.
Right. Receivers over the middle used to get killed. I think like Steve Atwater and David Fulcher and Andre Waters and those guys.
Ronnie Lott.
Oh,
I mean, would destroy. And you ask wide receivers, and how they don't get hit today, and they're not allowed to get hit in the head. But so guys go low. You'd ask a receiver, they'd probably rather get hit in the head than down in the knees. Yeah. Because that's the thing about it. You think about a football player mentally, obviously a physical injury, but mentally, you blow out a knee, you're done. You're done. You're done for the season. You're done for the year. You get hit in the head. Maybe you get a concussion. Maybe you don't. You might not be out at all, right? Or you may miss only a week. You blow a knee out, you're done. And players don't want to be on the shelf.
How are the guys your age? Do you know guys that are having issues cognitively?
I mean, I know guys that are, and I know a bunch, Ross, that aren't.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're still way too early in the process with CTE when we went through the whole football scare and CTE scared, and it's really moms, of little kids playing football. We just don't have enough information. That's why I'm very happy and proud. My son-in-law, Ben Broniker, who married my daughter, played for the Bears for a number of years.
I did a couple of his games at Harvard.
Okay. Right, exactly. Harvard, and he played with the Bears. He had a few concussions, and he retired because he was going to be a doctor. He's in med school right now, and he's going to be a neurologist. And he wants to delve into concussions. So he wants to obviously practice, neurology and be a neurologist. But he also wants to help and be involved in the NFLPA and former players and learn more about head injuries because we just don't know enough. We hasn't been long enough to be able to really dictate and tell instead of just having the fear factor of football of saying, oh, God, if you play football, you're going to die from CTE, which is a ridiculous statement to make. But it is, they have learned. I mean, literally in my day, you got stung in the head. They held up 2 fingers. They asked you how many. You said 3. They'd be close enough, and you go back in. I mean, we laugh, but that's kind of how it was. They're so much smarter today, you have to take the helmet away from the player and not let them go back on the field until they pass the tests.
All right, so the most important thing is that he's a good person and that he treats your daughter well.
Yes.
But I got to say, as a father of 2 girls, if on paper you could say – Harvard, NFL, neurosurgeon. I mean, Mike. I imagine you and your wife. You're like, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah,
that'll work.
The joke is, I call him an underachiever. I mean, Jake, my son Mike, and my son Jake both told Sydney, who's the youngest, they said, don't screw it up. They said it in a little harsher words than that. Said it ain't going to get better than this. And Ben is a great guy. They have a beautiful daughter, Alex, and he's in his 3rd year of med school. But, yeah, exactly. Harvard, NFL, med school. Going to be a neurologist.
Think about the genetics for your you said you have a granddaughter?
Granddaughter. Oh, okay. Yeah. She's 14 months, and she's showing signs.
How many grandkids?
3.
Best thing ever?
It is, without question, the best thing ever. My son.
Like better than your own kids?
Yes.
Why? Tell me why.
Yes. Because I can give them back. I can give them back. Jake, who played tight end at Notre Dame, and his wife ran track at Notre Dame, Jenny, they have 2 kids, a 2.5-year-old son, Jackson, and about a 2-month-old daughter named Jordan. But, yes, you can love them up, you buy them gifts, and you give them back. Yeah, it's the best.
What was Buddy Ryan like?
Buddy was a great defensive mind, not so much a great head coach, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Didn't do enough, I think, for the offense as the CEO of a team to have to take care of everything. I don't think did enough of the offense and really focused on the defense. And it showed. We had great defenses. We had a lot of talent on offense. Randall Cunningham, Keith Byers, Keith Jackson.
They should have been able to get more done.
Yeah.
You guys never really, had a good offensive line.
Yeah, the offensive line struggled a bit. We never won under Buddy. We never won one playoff game. Then he got fired. Rich Kotite took over. We won a wild card game against New Orleans and then lost in the divisional round to Dallas in '92 when they won the first of back-to-back Super Bowls. But Buddy was a great defensive mind, a great defensive mind. And then the one good thing I'll say is after he got fired and Rich Kotite became the head coach, he hired Bud Carson as the D coordinator. Bud Carson could go down as the greatest defensive coordinator of all time. God rest his soul.
Really?
Bud Carson.
More than Buddy?
Oh, yes.
People forget that name.
Bud Carson, I mean, listen, the guy to talk about today is Steve Spagnuolo, the defense coordinator, already has the most Super Bowl rings for a D coordinator, going for his 5th. So obviously he's the guy. But Bud Carson was unbelievably great.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I heard that, like the night before games, Buddy would go over all this stuff for the defense, and if they do this, we do that. If they do this, we do that, and then he would say, offensively, Randall, we got to make a few plays.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Randall first got to the team and was kind of backing up, he would go in intermittently, and basically he was told, look for the main receiver. If he's not there, run. And that was, and then he developed from there. Obviously, he played well there. He played well in Minnesota. Turned into an excellent quarterback. The toughest year was 91 when we thought we had everything to go to the Super Bowl. Opening game, Randall gets his knee blown out in Green Bay.
Bryce Pop, right?
Bryce Pop caught him low, and we were just like, no way that just happened.
I was 12 years old.
Oh,
that
my
was
God.
Like my most excited I ever was for a football season. You guys ended up being pretty good with McMahon.
We did.
And then he got hurt.
And then he got hurt. We went through a plethora of quarterbacks. We pulled Pat Ryan off a construction site to be a quarterback, and that didn't last long. Jeff Kemp, Brad Gable.
It's crazy.
I mean, it was, and one play. Listen, that's how it goes. And we've seen it before in all sports. One play. We did, when I finished my career in Miami in 93, we were 9-2. And we were in Cleveland, and Dan Marino back in the pocket to pass. Nobody touched him. Snaps his Achilles. We lose our next 5 games. Go 9-7. Don't even make the playoffs. We had the best record in the league. Didn't even make the playoffs.
Randall Cunningham is my favorite player ever. I mean, you can imagine, right? He's the quarterback, and I'm 8 years old and 10 years old. Although it's interesting because I've heard that he was a very different guy in Minnesota than he was in Philly.
Yeah, in
Philly, it was like the limelight and everything.
Philly limelight really kept to himself. I mean, I knew him, didn't know him that well.
Right.
Didn't really hang. I just had a couple guys that he hung out with. Definitely, he was young though then.
Yeah.
And definitely, matured and progressed when he got to Minnesota. And a great dude though.
What was Marino like?
Dan was one of the best teammates I ever had. Dan ran the show. Dan ran the show. I mean, we had a rookie. There was when I was there, and I was just there 1 year, but the first year of free agency, we had 11 free agents in Philadelphia, and Reggie being the main one.
Yeah.
He signed with Green Bay. Not one. Norman Brayman, the owner then, who didn't really care about the team, didn't re-sign one of us.
Not one of the 11.
Not one. And four of us went to Miami. Me, Ron Heller, Keith Byers, and Keith Jackson all ended up in Miami. And there was a
coach?
Don Shula coming to the end. Actually, Don broke the record for most wins as a head coach.
I was at that
when
game.
I was there in Philly.
You were on the Dolphins.
I was
that
on
year?
the Dolphins that year.
I was at that game, Mike.
Yes.
You guys put them up.
Yes, held them up.
You held them up.
Unbelievable. I played most of my career in Philly. Go back to Philly on another team, and that coach Don Shula breaks the record. But we had a rookie in camp. We had a rookie offensive lineman, strong as all get out, but just kept making mistakes.
Yeah.
Kept making mistakes. And through the rotation, occasionally he'd be out there with Dan. And basically Dan out loud said, I'm not on the field if he's on the field. If he's on the field, I'm not playing quarterback. I mean,
he had no tolerance for guys making mistakes.
He would go to and he would own it if he made a mistake, but he would be down the field telling receivers that they ran around. I mean, he ran, and deservedly so. Dude was one of the best quarterbacks ever, but a great teammate. A great teammate. He wouldn't always show up to Thursday night club, when the fellows go out after practice, especially the linemen go drink. But he would show up occasionally, and he would leave, and he'd leave all the money and buy drinks for everybody, which certainly says a lot to me,
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, great teammate. Sorry I only got to play with him for a year.
It's awesome. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show again this year, man.
My pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it.
No problem.
As you could tell, I could keep asking you
that
these
was
stories
your sweet spot of fandom.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, we got a question here about your favorite cheesesteak. What is it?
And I'm going to make this my Labatt take, Jack, brought to you by Labatt. With Labatt, you can buy beer and get gear. Just go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, Upload it to gain points towards exclusive merch, any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. Sign up at rewards.labattusa.com. I have a very controversial take on this. I'm actually more of a chicken cheesesteak guy. It's not like a health thing or whatever, and I don't know how it happened. I think maybe my parents gave me a cheesesteak with all kinds of stuff on it I didn't like when I was really little, like the onions and all that stuff. I love me some chicken cheesesteaks. It's my favorite. Huge chicken cheese. Doesn't mean I'm anti-cheesesteak. I'm just very pro chicken cheesesteak. I don't know if that's going to be controversial or not, Jack. You know what? I just totally, that's amazing. That is awesome. We're not cutting that out. I'm so concerned about a controversial cheesesteak. That's what happened. Cheesesteak, Jack, steak, chicken cheesesteak. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. It is by far the best way to tell someone how you feel about them. Can't highly recommend it enough. myfrontpagestory.com. Backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.